What was Enzo? What was the name of the Go-Go Loud? King's Go-Go Loud.
Somebody died or got shot every week. Am I right?
Yep.
Every week somebody died or got shot. And sometimes
All right, people. We got a house full, honey. Yes. We are here tonight waiting on our featured guest, Miss Cynthia Strachan Saunders. She will be here and momentarily we will be talking about the history of Carver Ranches. If you watching and you from Carver Ranches, you need to tune in. Yes, tune in.
I can share somebody.
Yes,
Share with
let's
somebody.
talk about it. We're going to talk about all kind of history. And we're not going to get into that right now because she's not here yet. When she gets on, we'll start the communication about the history of Carver Ranches that is now known as West Park. Now, I do know.
You remember what was Hyde Park?
Hyde Park was 25th Street on back. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Hyde Park was 20. I was born and raised right here in Carver Ranches, honey. CRP for life.
ORK. CRP.
Oh, ORK for life, back in, I was born in 1970. Welcome, come on in. Hi.
Hi, look at that beauty.
Oh, she's so pretty.
All natural.
Always been pretty. Can you hear us good, Cynthia?
Hey, now I can hear you. Hey, ladies. I had to do the Zoom thing on my cell phone, but thank God for the cell phone.
Okay?
Hey.
Listen, these smartphones do everything.
So, I was just giving an introduction, about what tonight is about. And I just, I gave them, I told them that Miss Cynthia Strachan Saunders, she is a historian, I'm going to say, right here in Carver Ranches. Yes, honey, yes.
Uh-oh.
I remember as a child, seeing Cynthia, and she was just so eloquent, so beautiful. So, yes. And this is truly an honor, and when I think back, I was born in 1970 right here in Carver Ranches. My family is from Carver Ranches. A lot of people I know is from right here in Carver Ranches. So I'm glad to be able to close out this Black History Month with none other than Miss Cynthia Strachan Saunders.
Woo! I'm gonna be walking around a little bit because I think better when I move around.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, your audience are listening, or do they have visual too?
They have visual too, and okay. So just so you know,
I'm in the bolster on the gallery portion, so I'll be able to show them some things. That's why I have it on the cell phone so I can move around.
So what I want them to know is, Hosanna, well, right now, when I say the history of Carver Ranches, many of you know Carver Ranches right now has been annexed, and we are a new city called West Park. But I wanted the people to know what's actually right here in our area of West Park. The people that are here, they are vetted in here. They've been here since childhood. We love our community. And Hosanna for Youth is we're on the eye gates of Carver Ranches or West Park. We're at 56 and Pembroke. And we don't have any signs on our building, but this building itself has history, and it's been in our family for years. And I would like to say we were one of the first Black music record stores. Back in the day when they had the record store, we were one of the first Black record store
Come here and get you some bucket.
in Carver, you can get your vinyl. We used to have crates and crates of vinyl. And I can remember when my grandfather used to sit outside the building and he had speakers wired on the outside. So when you came in and you wanted to test a vinyl, he'll put it on the record player, you know, and put a quarter up on the needle so it'll stay.
Of course, you got to put the quarter on. That kept it in place, kept it from not skipping.
Yeah, so I don't skip. And you could hear the music outside the building. And, you know, I can remember as a kid, people used to say, Angie, your granddaddy out there on the front sleep. And he'll be asleep, but he knew everything that you was doing inside his record store. He kept the back door locked, so it was one way in and one way out. And by the time you came out, he would grab you and say, hey, what you just got out of there. So
you know, all the adults had eyes in the back of their head, so they knew what you were doing.
Yes, they did. And today we, you know, Hosanna sits at the eye gates of West Park. We're on the corner of 56 and Pembroke. Our mission here is we provide programs geared towards physical fitness, mental wellness, and personal development. We're well known throughout Broward County, Dade County, the state of Florida, Georgia, for our #1 program, Expose the Conversation, which hits on incest, molestation, and rape by a family member and trusted family friend. So we are vital to the community in all facets. And I just like that I'm able to tap into people like Cynthia, who has taken what we grew up to know as home and cherished.
Same street.
Next door. Yeah.
Corner.
She took the people in the history and she molded and cherished it and kept it for our generations that follow after us to know what was Carver Ranches. Right. So I thank you so much. And I'm gonna let her tell you because she has a museum right here in Carver Ranches, West Park, may I add. So I'm gonna let her introduce. I'm gonna let her introduce herself because I can go on and on. So please.
You're doing good. You're doing good, and you can jump in anytime. Hello, everybody, and everybody out there in the listening audience and the visual audience. You know, I love this Zoom thing. I gotta tell you now. You know, I'm over 65, so all this technology, I'm still new to it. Yeah, you could be my daughter. Anyway, I'm standing outside in front of the Bowles-Strawn house. And I'm going to start off by showing all of you this plant.
Oh.
And do you know what that is? You know what it is?
No, tell me.
That's a palmetto bush.
Yeah.
You don't see them too much.
The hand, like the hand, it'll always have like this little fan like trim or
and the significance of the palmetto bush is that Carver Ranches in the 40s.
Wow.
That's way before West Park thought about being, was 300 acres full of palmetto bushes, palm trees, rabbits, birds, and polecats.
I remember the polecat.
You remember the polecat?
You know what? Honestly, that you say that, Miss Cynthia, I remember smelling this distinct smell every now and again. I don't even smell it anymore. If they gave off this,
tell the people what a polecat is, because the young people wouldn't know it.
Well,
you don't know what a polecat is?
I want you to tell me.
It's a skunk.
That's what it would be.
If you hear the word polecat, it means a skunk. And
okay,
we know what smell comes from a skunk.
That's what the smell was.
That's what the smell was.
Are you kidding me? You know, we learn something every day. I remember this. I don't smell it anymore. It was a very distinct.
You don't smell it anymore because it's all built up out here.
Died off, but I would every now and again smell this distinct smell. Never knew where it came from. but it was a skunk. A whole
Now you know. You better be glad they never
Wow.
sprayed you, because that smell is so hard to get off your skin and your clothes.
Oh yeah. I would just smell it. Like I remember, and I haven't smelled it in a long time. But that's good to know.
So
Yes.
the Palmetto Bush, it was how many acres?
There was 300 acres, which was a subdivision of Carver Ranches. And that went from Pembroke Road to 25th Street. Okay? 25th
Okay,
Street.
because I need to look. I need to take some copious notes. All right,
I have a platted map. It shows you Carver Ranches, the boundaries of Carver subdivision, because it was unincorporated Broward County.
Right. Okay.
And we did not become incorporated until 2005. So that's a lot of years that the Black folks that moved out here had a chance to secure a solid foundation from, and that foundation is still here, and that's what West Park built upon, and the rest of us. I'm honored, Angie. Thank you.
The majority of the residents Bahamians that came in this area back then?
Well, what had happened was this was unincorporated. There was nothing but bush out here. There was no structures. And these three white men purchased these 300 acres, and they gave it the name Carver Ranches. And they had an incorporated company called Carver Ranches Inc. And they only sold to Black people. So what they did was they would go to Dade County, Miami, to all the pockets where the Black folks live. Overtown, Liberty City, Railroad Shop, all these little areas where the Black lived. And of course, majority of those Blacks came from the Bahamas, because they had the big Bahamian migration in the 20s when they were building the railroads, and they would come over here on a contract in order to work and make more money. They would make more money here in South Florida and would send it back to their families in the Bahamas. But a lot of the Bahamians, of course, stayed in South Florida, and they brought their family over, and they helped build the railroad and so many other structures in South Florida. So these kind of like door-to-door salesmen, when they went to the Black areas in Dade County, knocking on the door, and they say, listen, we got this place up here called Carver Ranches. It's undeveloped. You can come up here and buy your own land. Now, we're talking about in 1940s. That was unheard of. Black folks buying land,
Right.
and they only sold land to Black folks.
Wow.
A white person couldn't buy land out here unless they got a Black person to front for them. And at first, that wasn't happening. So my grandmother, Evelyn Bowles, who's from Cat Island, she was a single parent. My father, Theodore Lucky Strong, was her son, and my father. So when they knocked on her door, they were living in Liberty City. She decided to come up here. Let's go take a look. Because, usually when white folks knocked on your door in the 40s, you don't open the door. It's usually not anything positive.
Right.
But when this white man and told them about, hey, you can come up here and buy your own land and build your own house and da-da-da-da-da. So they took a chance along with some of the other Black folks. They came up here, and my dad said there was only 4 display houses built. That's all. They had the display houses, which they call them model homes now.
Okay.
So this was just to show them what they can build, which was a typical shotgun house. Wood, 2 bedrooms, a pitch roof, up off the ground, and that was it. 2 bedrooms.
Cynthia, wait a minute. So the shotgun house, correct me. So the shotgun house back then was, you could go in the front door and go straight out the back, right?
That's why they call it. There's this funny story. It's a funny story they have with it. It had to do with a man and a woman, and the daddy of the woman. And the man just ran right through in the shotgun. He had a shotgun because he said he gonna marry his daughter because you know what happened. We won't go into that, but you just use your imagination.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, but most of the houses were shotgun houses back then. And they had big families, but these shotgun houses were very small. And this is the house in back of me now. I did some upgrades and painted the ramp, had a ramp put in.
Mhm. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you're looking at is the house that holds all this history here in Carver Ranches. It's located on 19th Street. And she's done some things, but she did give me a tour one time, and it's so much, although it looks small, it's so much, it is a plethora of history of Carver Ranches, and from pictures to everything. So
we'll
there
go
we go.
inside now.
Wow.
There's so much stuff in here. Oh, sorry, I have my plants here. I'm trying to start some strawberries to go in the backyard.
Perfect. That's right up my alley.
The Black folks, everybody had a garden.
Yes.
They grew their own vegetables. They had fruit trees. My dad raised 500 heads of chicken. They had chicken, hogs, cows, livestock. So the only thing they had to buy from the store was staples like flour and meal and that type of thing, sugar. So even though their salaries were very low and small, but they grew most of their food and they shared. So if I got chickens, that means I got eggs, and I'm gonna give you some of my eggs because you got a mango tree and I want some of your mangoes.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But you will see this platted map. First, let me show you this guy. That's Carl T. Hoffman. That's one of the white men that formed the corporation called Carver Ranches Inc. And this is the platted map that shows you Pembroke Road, and this is 25th Street. Now, back then it was called Miami Drive. Pembroke Road was 17th. And when you come here, all the streets had names.
Wow.
And the avenues had names. You can see here, this was a designated area for a park right there.
Yeah.
And of course, this is where the school, this area was designated for Carver Ranches Elementary School.
Wow.
And just
all of us took a picture on the donkey.
Excuse me?
I say at the school, all of us took a picture on the donkey. That was my first time ever being on the donkey.
Oh, it was so much fun going to Carver Ranches Elementary School. I feel so sorry for the kids today who didn't have that experience living in an all-Black community, going to all-Black school, all-Black teachers that care for you, with like your parents too. It was, let me tell you, they didn't let you get it. You couldn't slide on nothing.
Yes.
And we didn't have summer school because you got all your learning in those months you went to school, and they made sure. But let me tell you, if you didn't know, your teacher could whoop your behind.
Come on.
Everything. The teacher was the everything. All the parents in the community were your parents.
Your neighbor can get you.
All the children was everybody's children. Right. And that's how it was. Definitely a village. The very good definition of takes a village to raise a child. Now, this lady here, who is that? That's Susie Daniels.
Susie Daniels, wow, yeah.
That's the principal.
She's a principal.
And this is the original school, the first elementary school. Those are barracks left over from World War II.
Wow.
Remember, World War II started December 1941. And the first families moved out here in 1941. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have a school at first. So this lady here, her name is Easter Robinson.
That's Tracy's name.
Yep. Easter Robinson used to put the kids in her car and take them to Hallandale because that was the closest school for Black children. Now, we still talking about segregation in the 40s. You know, civil rights didn't take place in the 60s. Right. So this lady put the kids in her car, and as the population grew, they outgrew her car. You got to tell me how much time I got, because I can go on, too. Tell me how much time I got so I know how to condense it.
Just come on. We want it all.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You got time?
All right. So she put the kids in her car and took them to Hallandale. Well, pretty soon they outgrew her car. So she went up to Fort Lauderdale to the school board and said, listen, you know, there's people living in Carver Ranches now, and we don't have a school, and we need a bus for our children to go to Hallandale. So they hired Mr. Buster. Mr. Buster lived in Hallandale, and Mr. Buster had a taxi cab service. So he would bring his taxi cabs out here and transport the children from Carver Ranches to Lanier and Chesty Moore and all those elementary schools.
Yeah.
My dad went to
My
Lanier.
dad went to Lanier too.
And then they soon outgrew his taxi cabs because, you know, Black folks started moving out here and the population grew some more. So she went back up to the school board again, and they finally gave us an old bus, and they hired Mr. Buster to be the bus driver.
Wow.
And then what happened was that in 1949, that's when they got these two barracks left over from World War II, and that was Carver Ranches Elementary School in 1949.
Wow.
And Susie Daniels was the principal. She was living in Hallandale at the time. She became principal. And then 10 years later, they built this brick building here, which is the building I attended, elementary school, and that was in 1959. And these are pictures of some of the faculty. As you can see, they all look like us.
Yes.
And then this lady here, that's Miss Gamble. She was the school crossing guard.
Wow.
She only stood about 4 feet. This little old short lady with bow legs. And she had her house. You know where Carver Ranches Library is now? That's where her place was. But we call her Annie Oakley of Carver Ranches. Because baby, she get that whistle and you better stop. And she always carried her a 38 in her apron. Those were some tough ladies back then. You hear me?
Strong. I said Annie Oakley. I was thinking about what you said. I know Annie Oakley told a pistol.
Yeah, and she told one too until somebody complained in the county made her stop carrying it.
Oh wow.
So now, this is a fireman. When the Black folks first moved out here, Broward County is like, listen, y'all on your own. They gave no services to the Black folks. And that was, to me, that was one of the best things they could have done. Now that I look at it, because Black folks gonna make a way. They're gonna make it work. And they didn't have the county breathing down their neck saying, do this, do that, do that. So the men got together and they formed their own fire department. It was called Carver Ranches Volunteer Fire Department. Now, Carver Ranches is so close to Washington Park, which is right on the north side of Pembroke Road. And then we got the Black section of Hallandale. So these three areas, we were like sister communities, even though they were in their cities. But all the Blacks, we kind of knew each other and we worked together. So the firemen, they had men from those areas that also came and they would put out fires. And eventually Broward County gave them equipment and gave them old hand-me-down fire truck that first couple of times they took the fire truck out, they got to the fire, wasn't no water in the truck.
What?
They said the truck had a leak in it.
Connected to the hydrant? We didn't have access to the hydrant, the water hydrant?
No, the way the water trucks were made back then, there's water in the big tank. They didn't have hydrants out here then, not out in Carver Ranches.
So we'll call the container like the car wash people with the canister water?
It was bigger than that. But they had a reservoir that carried the water. Anyway, Ricky at Days Cleaner said, needless to say, they lost a few houses because but it was wonderful, and everybody that went to Carver Ranches School all remember the school song. Now,
what's the school song?
What was the school song?
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Before you start, Miss Cynthia, you all do know she is a vocalist. She's a vocalist. She is a thespian. She is an all over entertainer. She really can sing. So
Yes, I want to hear it.
Too much pressure.
She's a jazz
But
singer.
you know what? I interviewed before I go into the song. There is a book called Promises from the Palmetto Bush. That's why I had wanted to show you the book. And what the book is 43 of the pioneer families that moved out here in the 40s is their oral history. So it's written oral history. It's their story, is their words, is their life, and we just get the opportunity to hear it and live it because their story is our story.
Right.
And it's our history. And now it gives us a better understanding on how the beginning and the sacrifices they made for us to be here now. So, so once they did the song, the tune of the song is from an old song. What is it? Sleep, my child, and peace within me all through the night. That's an old song. So two of the teachers took that tune and put lyrics to it. So here we go. Carver Ranches, how we love thee. We'll protect thee and we'll praise thee all through the year. Carver Ranches, how we love thee dearly and sincerely. You have been our inspiration all through the years. When we leave these walls of knowledge in future years, high ideas will always linger all through the years. Here we go now. Carver Ranches, how we love thee dearly and sincerely. You have been our inspiration all through the years.
Awesome.
Now, do you know how long ago we learned that song? I told you I'm over 65 now. But everybody I interviewed was able to remember it, if not all, part of that song. And I can't sing one word of my high school song because integration came in and whoop, I was in the first graduating class of Miramar High School.
Yeah.
And Jean, did you go to Miramar High School?
No, I cried and kicked and screamed to go to Hollandale. Honey, my daddy said, he said, you can go, but you better find a way to get there. So Nika's sister and I, every morning, that was the wavering factor of figuring out how to get to Hollandale from Carver.
I went to Hollandale too. Robin, Sharonda, and myself went to Hollandale. Derek, he went to MacArthur because, you know, him and his friends, all of us, Carver Ranches, Reggie Cook, Eric Red, Ron King, all those guys went to MacArthur. So he was transferred over to MacArthur. But yeah, we went to Hollandale. We all graduated from Hollandale High School.
Well, before Hallandale,
look,
as I say, Miramar, this is, you know, I'm in that generation with one foot in segregation and one foot in integration. And it was a mess. You hear me? Yeah. We were all tuned up, ready. We just knew we were going to Addicts High School. All my uncles and aunts with, oh boy, I couldn't wait to get to Addicts. And boom, y'all got to go to Miramar High School. I was so mad.
Wow.
And to top it off, they had not finished building the school, Miramar High School. So we had to go to MacArthur on a double shift. What?
You mean like in the morning, like in the evening?
It was awful. It was awful. Nobody was prepared for it. They didn't want us there. We didn't want to be there. All the teachers that, you know, we used to, our teachers that loved us and cared about us, make sure we learned. Honey, they didn't know. And we didn't know. It was awful. Those guys, you know, all of my classmates, the guy says they had to fight every day.
Yeah.
Every day was a
So
fight.
let me ask you, as far as back then, do you have any records of like first businesses out here? What was?
Yes. By the way, everybody, please come by the Bold Strong House and buy a book. All of this information is in the book.
Okay. How
I
much is the
started.
book?
The book is $30, and 43 of the families are featured. Is 200 and some pages, and it features not only the families and their story, but about the school. Plenty photos. We talk about the church, the first churches that came out here that started in 1947. This is Mount Zion AME Church. That was the first church based on the interviews. And in 1947, Ms. Rose Collier started it in her house. And then it went to this little building. It was wooden then, but right now this building is still there. It's brick. And then they built a bigger sanctuary. And then the second church was Church of God of Prophecy, which now has been converted to a house. Can you believe that? They sold the church. Yeah.
I can't say nothing.
You can't say nothing. But I was so, I was driving by and I'm like, one day it was a church, and the next day it wasn't. Anyway, then
this, Miss Cynthia. So the book, I want to purchase one. Me and Angie are both going to purchase one. Where would they be able to purchase this book? Like, do you have like
they have
cash
to, right
app
now
or-
they have to get it directly from me. I had it at some of the libraries, and I had it in a couple of the black bookstores in Fort Lauderdale. There is at Carver Ranches Library. You can go there and read it. I don't think they were letting people check it out, but you need to have your own copy.
Yeah.
And then you'll get ready. I'm now working on the second book for the families that came in the 50s. So Angine, that's you. That's your family. So I need to interview you and Pedro.
I'm sorry. So is there a Cash App or Zelle? Because I want to lock my book in. I don't know about Angie, but I am just like blown away.
We're going over to the house and we're taking a picture in front of the house with Cynthia giving us the book.
Okay.
So we ain't got a Cash App.
And there's a Cash App and a Zelle you can do it with. And plus, you need me to autograph it, girl.
Yeah.
Correct.
Don't you? Huh? So I'm gonna take it to the gallery now, so you can see some of the folks that's featured. That's Catherine and Harrison Strong. They were the first family to move out here February 14th, 1941.
Wow.
Listen, I was so honored that these people opened up their heart and their soul and gave me their story. Now, mind you, it wasn't easy at first, but old people, they're not just gonna tell you that. Sometimes it took me 2 and 3 visits. The first problem is getting them to open the door. But what helped is that you knock on the door and say, "You remember my daddy, Lucky, or my grandmother?" By the time you say all the people in your lineage, "Oh yeah, you so and so daughter. I remember you from a little girl." So being from the neighborhood has its advantages. That gets the door open. Yeah. And then they got to feed you, give you something to drink. I just want to get to the good part, but no, you have to learn.
You gotta roll with it.
And anyway, so this lady here, she is awesome. Extraordinary. Very extraordinary. She was still alive at the time, so I was able to talk to her directly, not her children And she went back to school and got her GED at age 77.
Whoa.
And when I called her.
That is awesome. It's no excuse whatsoever.
None.
Any young person looking at this live, it's no excuse whatsoever.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
It gets better. When I called her to try and set up an appointment, she told me her schedule. I can't do it on this day. I'm like, why? She said, because I'm working a part-time job. I'm like, part-time job. Now, at this point, the woman is in her 80s. And then she said, I can't do it during the week on these days because she's going to Miami-Dade Community College. She was in college at the time. And in the book, she gives me a copy of, they did a newspaper article on her getting her GED at age 77. There's a copy of it in the book because she had all of that. I'm like, oh, I got to rub and hug on you, girl. I just love her. And another thing came up with her. Everybody got a story, but another thing was interesting. When the people at shotgun houses, there's no running water, no electricity, no plumbing. So all the people that moved out here in the early 40s, no electricity, no plumbing, no paved road, no street lights, none of that. Rocky roads. They had to pump out in the yard. You put it in the ground. Yeah, in the outhouse. And this house here was the same thing.
Really?
This was the back door, and that's the front door. This is one small little house, maybe not even quite 500 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the porch was, everybody had an open porch, you know. Now, Dad has clothes in the porch, and then he put an extension on the back, but that's it. This was one bedroom.
Look at that sharp picture. Who is that, Miss Cent? That couple that's standing,
That's Mr.
nice
Taylor,
picture.
Mr. Alfred Taylor and his wife.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Look at that picture.
Wow.
Yes, that is awesome. That is beautiful.
And I love the way the ladies and the men dressed back then. They were so dignified and everything was clean and starched.
Tailored
Miss Coffee
jackets
donated that dress.
Oh, that's
Miss Coffee?
Miss Coffee that lived right on the corner.
Wow. Yes.
And then, of course, this is the tea. You know, all the churches had the fancy tea cups, and that's how they raised money for the church. And then over here, it just shows all the fineries, the ladies with their perfume bottles and their hats and their little clutch purse. And remember the powder sponge?
Yes.
Oh, they were so dignified. There we have the hot comb and the curlers. And Old Spice. Old Spice been around a long time.
Old Spice and Route 33. Route 33
and
is so loud.
Did y'all know anybody in your family that dipped snuff into the back?
No.
But people in the community that did that back then.
Yes, they did.
But anyway, just some more of the people. And there's the Robinsons again. Y'all know Billy Robinson, this is his parents. They were the second family to move out here in 1941.
Yes.
And this Clark, Reverend Elijah and Viola Clark was right down 20th Street.
Wasn't he the pastor of Central?
Yes, that's Central right there.
Yeah.
On that picture. He was the first pastor of Central.
Yes.
And Pop White. That's the Stevenson. Ebby's and Stevenson and Celia Stevenson. Pop White and his wife Vera. And this Miss Daniels. This Dewey's grandparents.
Yes.
Arthur and Ophelia Daniels.
Yes.
Here's another Clark. He also Reverend Clark. They lived right around the park. He has a funny story. Now, he saw that right down 441, not far from Pembroke Road, but south, they had a 5 and 10 cent store. Where they, I think it used to be, it ended up in the Army and Navy. Well, the Sun Tatler, that was a newspaper, which was the predecessor of the Sun Sentinel. Before it became Sun Sentinel, it was the Sun Tatler paper. And they had an ad in the paper. They said, "We'll trade anything." So Reverend Clark took his cow to the store. And the man said, "We don't take cows." But he said, your article said you'll trade anything. So the owner had to honor what the paper said. So then the next thing the newspaper says, Sun Tatler says, "Man trade cow for down payment on a car." True story.
Said anything. Yeah, still now. You said you put it out there, you gotta honor it.
Y'all know who that is?
Oh,
Mary Saunders.
I
yes.
couldn't believe it. Look at Mary Saunders. Wow.
Yes. Mary Saunders Park.
Yes, Mary Saunders. She's definitely a strong, bold Bahamian woman.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
when they saw her at the government building coming, they knew she wasn't leaving empty-handed. She was very strong and very adamant about getting things for Carver Ranches. I got to give her credit. A lot of people didn't like her because she was outspoken, but that's how she was able to get things for us.
Right.
And she used to work for the man that owned Gulfstream.
Mm.
Yeah, and he gave her first $500 to go toward a fence for the park. So, hey.
Yes.
He asked me like close by. I was like, listen, you got to talk. You got to speak this one.
Yeah,
And
and Harrison,
like,
the
listen.
first couple, he's from Cat Island, Bahamas. Harrison Strachan.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where my family was from, Cat Island.
Oh, Charlie, we cousins,
You already know.
And these are Sheila Strachan people.
Okay.
Her grandmother. Marion knows is her great grandmother, then Edith, Carolyn and Edith.
Yes.
Yeah, they go back. Now, this building here is still up there on Pembroke Road. This building here is probably the oldest building, older than this house, because this was the land office. This is where they brought the people and showed them that platted map, and they get to pick out a lot, an empty lot, if they wanted to buy it. Because they only had the 4 houses built now, 4 model homes. So they can go inside and see how it's made and so forth. But my grandmother decided to purchase this model home. So this was one of the 4 display houses, the Bold Strachan house. And it's still here. It's the oldest one here. It's the only one left out of the 4. Catherine and Harrison bought the first one. And she said they paid $750, $75 down.
Ooh, Lord.
And $10.
Okay, I just spoke back up. You spoke back up for a minute.
Well, listen, the lots were being sold for $50 for an inside lot. If you got the corner lot, that was $75. Yeah, but that was a lot of money for them. My grandmother, for this house, she paid $945. She paid $50 down and $12 a month, because I still have her payment booklet.
Wow.
And let me tell you about this guy. That's Mr. Johnson, Clarence and Victoria Johnson. That's Miss Edith Johnson's parent. Do you know he worked at the state hospital? And Bahamian guy, the men are strong. He worked 20 years past his age. They thought the man was still in his 60s. The man, 80 years old, still working.
What?
When they found out his age, they forced him to leave to retire.
Wow.
But they had to pay him all that back money. So they nicknamed him Quick Claim Deed Johnson, because he walked around Carver Ranches with them quick claim deeds, buying up property on 18th Street.
Yeah.
And he owned a lot of property. Now, this is one of the richest man, Carver Ranches. His name is John Howard Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Adams owned 35 acres in Ogis. All of that areas were Black people. And for those of you who don't know, Ogis is where Aventura Mall is. Aventura now, but that was all Black people that lived there.
Yeah.
Once they brought in the highway number 9, Dixie Highway, they started forcing the Blacks out.
Right.
Said they had to move. Well, this man took him to court. He said, I ain't moving. He had a very lucrative business there. He had a hog farm. People came all over to buy his hog. He liked them. He took them to court, but he did not win. But he was one, as far as I know, one of the only, if not few, that took him to court. And they gave him $500,000 for his 35 acres in 1949.
Wow.
What does that tell us, class? They knew what they had planned for their area. You can't
Yeah.
even buy a lot over there for $500,000
Nope.
now. So, needless to say, there's a John Howard Adams number 5, and every time he'd come by here and say, Miss Cynthia, can I bring my friends by here to show them my great daddy? So he had bragging rights.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time he go to Aventura Mall, he said, this was in our family. We used to own this land. Anyway,
Yeah.
good, beautiful story. They all have wonderful stories. And what I love about it, each one of these families brought another piece of the puzzle. There's Miss Hale, that's Daniel Hale's parents up there in the corner. And there's the Days that own Days Cleaners.
Wow.
Sarah Days. And that's, talk about a businesswoman. That's Miss Harris up there, Harris Motel.
Harris Motel, yeah.
Yeah, before she even came to Carver Ranches, she already had motels in Fort Lauderdale. And of course, she opened up the barbecue restaurant where the Chinese restaurant is now. There's the Taylors again, Alfred and Rosina Taylor. And that's Lorene Jackson, Elijah Jackson, Ronnie Jackson parents.
Wow.
And we call this the tallest family in Carver Ranches, the Mobleys.
The Mobleys are tall.
Yeah, all of them tall.
Yeah.
Here's another Cat Islander, James Strong and Elmore.
Yeah.
They were like the Central Missionary Baptist Church. Just about 90% of the congregation was from the Bahamas. And here's the Harts. You know Millicent Hart, right there on the corner of 23rd and 50th. It's an empty lot now. But they're from out here. I mean, the stories are just, I can keep you here for 5 hours talking about all the different stories because they all came with the story. And this lady here, remember that house there right by the park? I'm not sure if you can see it. This one.
Yes, yes.
That's Miss Annie Mae Brown. She had a store off 50th on right off Pembroke Grove. All the businesses were Black owned. Let me tell you, they were better off then than we are now. Every single business on Pembroke Grove was Black owned. We had our own doctor. We had our own everything here. I interviewed the grandson to Reverend Clark because I couldn't find anybody else in the family, and he had already moved to New York. So I interviewed him by telephone. He said, Cynthia, they say we didn't even know white people exist because you got to remember television was not invented yet in the 40s. So if you live in an all-Black community, and they like protected us here. This was a cocoon for us. They did not let the outside really bother us. So we were not really that affected by integration, segregation and racism, because they went out and left the community and took all the racism and the hurt and the everything. And we stayed here in the community. We played with each other. Everybody had big families. We played in the neighborhood. There was no reason really to go out the neighborhood.
We were rich in fruit trees and cultural stuff.
Didn't your mama tell you to go outside and play and don't come back to dinner?
Don't come back to dinner.
Don't let the lights catch you, but you can go. You can come in the house with water. First of all, there wasn't bottled water.
You drank out the water fountain, out the hose, out the water hose.
And it was very, very tasty.
That's before all that pollution and stuff. And the water was good.
It was very tasty. I mean, always quench my thirst. So.
Okay, which one of y'all used to climb the trees and get the mangoes and the fruit?
Listen, I got plenty of butt whoopings for those mulberry bush. That mulberry tree. Sea grape tree with the vinegar and salt and pepper, but the mulberry bush behind Miss what's next to Miss no, right next to us. I'm having a brain fart.
Miss Newball
Miss Newball had this huge mulberry bush, which was it bears so many fruit every year. And my mom was like, "Don't go out there because I mean, if it'll stay in your hand, your clothes, it was like you would have to really treat to get it out." So I got in trouble a lot for those markers. I could not stop.
You know, right now today, well, I ain't gonna say right now today, but within the past few years, I saw a mulberry tree right behind A1 store in that house that's directly behind A1 store, and it was hanging over, and I was like, a mulberry tree, and I believe they cut it.
Ladies, what are some of the other fruits we had back then you don't see now anymore?
Sugar apples.
Sugar apples.
Chinese plums.
Chinese plums.
What do you call them? Kumquats, the little small little oranges.
Cherries.
The little cherry tree. With, you got to be careful because you may bite
the
worm.
As long as you don't see the worm, it doesn't bother you. We done ate plenty worms.
I'm sure I consumed plenty of worms.
I ate plenty of worms because I was one of those kids. I was coming by everybody's house who would let me come over. And I wanted to know what you had in your backyard, what kind of fruit you had. Guavas. Oh my God.
Oh, guavas, yes. Oh my God, they were so good. And what about the bitter oranges? They weren't orange, they weren't sweet. But boy, we take them bad boys and squeeze them, put sugar in there.
Yeah,
baby, that was so good.
Trees. I mean,
those lemon trees that I know my grandmother had them in her backyard. They were real lumpy, but they wasn't the orange. They was just
only a bittersweet.
Not the bittersweet. They were lemon. But when you peel them, it peeled real. Yeah, it was real thick, but they peeled easy peeling.
Yeah,
it was so good. And
they was so good, so good. Here's
another avocados.
Avocados. I got 4 avocado trees in my backyard. See, needless to say, I got a backyard because my house is small. Now they're building the big houses on a lot, so you don't have much land to have trees. But it was wonderful growing up as a child here in Carver Ranches. We felt safe. We could walk down the street. We can go anywhere and feel safe. We know, people are looking out for us.
And you know what, Cynthia, and for our era, and I don't know if it was for yours, but the central hub of our community was our park.
No, for us, the park,
it was the park.
Yes.
And the Forest Club.
At the library, when they bought the library here, yeah.
But before the library. You remember the Knack House? You remember the Knack House?
Yes.
That was a change it to the Forest Club.
Well, for me and my generation, the hub, the everything was the church, because we didn't have the Knack House one there yet. The park came in the I think the late 50s or something like that. But the church was the everything, because it was the social. Not only you go there for the religious and all of that and your faith, but that's where we went for socializing. It was economics too. If you had a problem paying your light bill, you go to the church, they help you out. The single parents need food. That was the everything. Everything was there. But this man here, one more rich man. I got to show you him. Jerry Salvage.
Salvage was the name?
His name was Jerry, and he had a business there called Jerry Salvage and Building Supply. You know where on 18th Street and 42nd Avenue, that 2-story church? Okay, that used to be Cathedral of Praise. That was our Home Depot back then. Jerry Salvage. He had the whole block. Look at this picture, if you can see it good. He had that whole block full of junk. It was on the side of the road, on both sides of the road, and he had everything there to build a house, although nothing was new, but that was a Salvage. But he take nails out of old board and resell them, refrigerate, everything you needed for a house, he had it. He said if he didn't have it, you didn't need it.
Wow. Now,
yes,
Cynthia,
he was. Go ahead.
We just had someone here at the office, and I was telling them that we had you coming on, and we told them what our topic was, and they went in and said, you gotta mention about the only Black wash house that was here back then. And he said it was called Wickerson Wash House. And it was to wash the clothes, it was 10 cents, and to dry was
25.
Yeah.
Look, I got a picture of it. They will be featured in the next book. The Wilkerson came in the 50s, but I actually have a photo. They submitted a photo of the wash house. I'm trying to see if I have it up here yet. See this wall here. This is the wall I show you. These are the people that's in the book that came in the 40s. Okay. But these are the folks I'm working on now that came in the 50s. And the Wilkersons came in the 50s. Oh, here it is. You see it?
Yes.
See Wilkerson? Yeah. That old truck right there? That was on Pembroke Road.
Wow. And see, as a kid, I don't remember the laundromat, but I remember King's Go-Go Lounge. I don't know why.
I think this laundromat was before King's a Go-Go. I wonder why you remember that one.
Because my dad used to be.
Of course. Well, you're gonna see what Dave's Cleaners looked like back then. Not like what it looked like now. In that old truck. That's in the book too. But it was something else I wanted to show you. I'm gonna show you a before picture of the VFW.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
You see it?
Yeah.
That's the VFW.
That's the original VFW, that little hut, and it wasn't where it is now. It was more off 50th, closer to 50th Avenue and Pembroke Grove. So see, remember now, World War II happened in 41, and when the Black veterans came back from war, of course, they couldn't go to the lodges. There they are. So what did they do? They built their own. You know, one monkey don't stop no show. They don't stop us. And so this is we talk about World War II and the veterans are over here. And then you know that building right up there by the Boys and Girls Club, that was the original fire department.
Right.
Well, that was the everything. It was kind of like the community building, but the fire department operated out of there initially. So it's a lot of history. It's a lot of rich history. And someone made the comment, asked the question, well, did anything good come out of Carver Ranches? It sure did. A lot of well-known people come out of here. In fact, that these Black folks were look at what y'all look
good come out of Carver Ranches. We like,
God, please. I boldly listen, when I go over on the other side of the world and I'm singing over in Thailand and Bangkok and Cambodia and all those places, I proudly say Carver Ranches. And Western Park be getting mad. But I say, why y'all getting mad? I'm here to do the history. Y'all not even history yet. You just started. So, see right there? That's in Bangkok, Thailand. Our book about Carver Ranches is in this famous hotel in Bangkok, Thailand, or the Oriental Hotel, because they had a whole wing just called Author's Ring. I'm like, well, I want my book in this Author's Wing in the library, and they took it. Yeah. So I could talk forever, but get the book, everybody. It's so much, and everybody contributed to why we're here today. If it wasn't for all these beautiful Black, wonderful, caring, faithful, they struggled based on our definition of struggle. For them, it wasn't, because they didn't have anything to compare it with. But they took the opportunity to buy their own land, build their own houses, and raise their family. Yeah. And I have to thank them. I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful. Sometimes it brings tears to my eyes, because I didn't wake up one morning saying I'm going to do this. Girl, please. I was living over in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. I had my little business. I was singing my jazz. I was living a beautiful, colorful life. And just as clear, Spirit came to me and said, it's time for you to move home. And what did I do? I don't want to. Let me tell you, girl, I had me a young boyfriend. My business was doing well. I was living up in the bush. I go to the beach every day. I love island living. And if I ever leave here, that's where I'm going back to, somebody's island. I love island living. I like the pace of it. But just as clearly, Spirit said, come home. I didn't know why, but I know when Spirit tells you to do something, you do it because there's something beautiful and wonderful waiting for you. And when I got here, that's when I started grilling my dad, Lucky Strong, about our Bahamian culture.
Right.
Because he's an only child, and where he used to take us to Nassau when we were small, but I really didn't know a whole lot about the family structure. And so I got a chance to learn about that. And that's how this book started, by me talking to him, grilling him. I'm like, wait a minute, Dad, let me write some of this stuff. I said, I can't write it down. Let me get a tape recorder. And then so much of what he told me as a young boy, because he was 9 years old when he moved here with his mother, my grandmother, was about Carver ranches in the early days. I'm like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Right.
So I said, you know what? And all the families still lived here. I didn't really have to go outside the community because once I started, I still didn't realize it was going to be a book. I really didn't. You know,
Wow.
I just go with the flow.
Just
Oh,
imagine
okay, we're going to go this way. And so, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go up there to the government building. I couldn't find anything written about the history of Carver ranches. I searched. I spent a lot of hours looking through the macrofiche and all of that stuff. I called the school board. They gave me the runaround. They couldn't give me any information about Carver Ranches Elementary. I'm like, y'all trying to act like it didn't exist, and that couldn't be because I went there. And they just sent me from one department on to another. I got no information. I say, let's go to the source, and that's the people.
Right.
The families now are still here. The majority of them, you know, their children or grandchildren is, of course, we know Carver Ranches is slowly changing.
Changing. Yes.
Yes, so fast.
Yes.
And but they were here and they were so happy to give the information. I still did not realize the importance of the task that God had given me. Because I'm like, so I don't want to
So
do this no
necessary.
more. I want to go back to the island and sing.
Yeah, so
But
necessary. He had a plan for you, Miss Cynthia. And it's just beautiful that the historians wanted to share all this rich history, because that's one of the things that I sometimes, ponder about, like, Dad, I didn't get to ask my grandmother now that I've gotten older, stuff that I, at a youngster, wasn't really thinking about or anything like that. But I wasn't a lot of the opportunity, or took the opportunity to sit down with her and ask her, about, my father gives it to me now, but still even my grandmother and my great grandmother, and, all these wonderful stories that I feel like I kind of missed out on because I just didn't know any better. You know what I mean? So for someone to share this type of information, and you just sit down with you and give you all of this good stuff, it's just wonderful.
And we thank you. We thank you for being that vessel and creating a platform that our generation and the ones to follow, my kids, my grandkids, can still find out about the history of Carver Ranches, even in the transition to West Park. So anybody that, go ahead.
it's so important when I do presentations and so forth. I do a whole slideshow. I got songs to go with the book and so forth, but it is so important, even right now where you are with your children, because let me tell you, Miss Hale, she was like one of the first person I interviewed because she lived right down the street. Daniel Hale's mother, Miss Blasi Hale. And I was after her granddaughter. At this point, Miss Hale was bedridden at her house, okay? And I kept saying, I want to interview her. I want to interview her. And so that's her picture right there. And so finally one day, Jennifer called me and said, "You better come now. There's a good day." So I went boogity, boogity, boogity down the street. I had no clue what I was doing. All I had was a pencil and a paper. And when I saw Miss Hill in that bed, because she used to be kind of, full-size woman. She was a little old thin thing drawn up. I'm like, oh Lord, I ain't gonna get much from this lady. So I introduced myself and I said, Lucky lived down the street. She said, "Oh yeah, baby." I said, "Now if you get tired, let me know. And I could come back another day." Lord, 3 hours later, the woman's still talking. And I ran out of paper. I was I couldn't even read my handwriting. And I learned a valuable lesson because the elders they really want to hand this information down. But if you don't have the patience to sit there and listen, don't rush. You can't rush them. You can't rush old folks. You got to let them do it at their own pace. And you got to act like you listening and interested. But they will tell you, you can go to ancestor.com, 123me, all you want. That's giving you facts. But if you want to get those stories, those golden nuggets, girl, you will be a changed person. Right now, I still got 1 foot in the 40s. And so I came up with a song that goes with the play that I wrote about this history because it's important. And I have time to sing a little bit of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. The title of the play was Their Story is Our Story. Okay. And ta-da.
Okay.
So I took some of the information from the book to do it in a play, because sometimes by using the arts and creative work, that will reach another audience, and the younger people that will appeal to them. They'll sit down and watch that because you're singing, you're up there on the play. And so the song goes, let's see. Fathers, talk to your children, teach them the things your father told you, and mothers, teach them to be the best that they can be, and all they do. And elders, please pass those stories down, make the child sit down and listen, because it's not his story, it's their story. And their story is our story. It's not his story. Talking about the white man. It's their story.
Right.
And their story is our story. The tree where the family tree is rooted in love and loyalty. The branches reaching out and stretching up never will give up on you and me. The leaves, the children are our leaves, born from our seed. Remember, come on, sing it with me. It's not history, it's their story, and their story is our story. It's not history. No, their story.
That's right.
Their story.
It's our story. It's our story.
Thank you.
You put your mute, unmute your mic.
Unmute your phone.
Miss Cynthia, you gotta unmute. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say it again. I missed it.
Yes. No, I was saying that you were talking and your mic was muted. So whatever it is you said, you could like say it again. But it was a beautiful, beautiful song. It's not their story. It's that his story. It is our story, right?
Right. Because see both of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Your story is your children's history. It's their story too.
Yes.
All of our ancestors, everything that happened to them, that's part of our history.
Our history.
And it keeps getting passed down. So where you at right now, usually when I talk to a family, I want to try and get the oldest member in the family because they will have a tendency to remember a little bit more. But when you get them all together, they bounce information off. That you remember this, and you'll be surprised. You're a changed person once you learn about your ancestors.
Exactly.
So I encourage everyone today, talk to your people. Please, young people, sit down and listen. They got some good stuff to tell you that will take you, carry you for the rest of your life. You get a better sense of self, and maybe get some questions answered. You've been wondering, well, why I do this and why did. But they got some secrets too now. I got several people tell me, baby, turn that video camera off. You can't put this in the book. I'm serious. Because, once they start unloading, just like Miss Blasi Hell, she was unloading and I didn't realize it because 4 months later, she died. But she had a chance to unload all that stuff to me. And she told me 2 things. She said, don't put this in the book. I'm like, okay. But she needed to unload.
Get it out. She needs to share.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that because we're going to use that as our closing. You got to make sure you tell your story because your history is playing the platform for the generation to come. So with that, I'm going to say, I don't want you to leave here with the secrets. I don't want you to leave here holding your story. I want you to share it. So with that, that's why Hosanna's platform is open to anyone that needs to come and talk. You can go over and you can speak with Miss Cynthia if you want to learn the lineage and, talk about things in the family of West Park or the Carver Ranches. You're more than welcome. But if it's something within you that you're having a hard time coping with, that's your story, and you need help healing through that or getting through that or just having a platform to talk about it, Hosanna for Youth is right here at the eye gates of West Park. We on 56 and Pembroke. You're more than welcome to stop by. We will listen, non-judgmental, and we're open to all ages and all male or female. It does not matter. We can be reached at hosannaforyouth@gmail.com. or you can call 954-300-1370. Now, when you get ready to reach out to us, you make sure you're ready. That's all I ask. Make sure you're ready. Because once you open the door, it's gone.
Locked and loaded. Miss Cynthia, before you go,
I need her to share where she's at.
Right. Share your location. We're going to personally come by and we're going to purchase our book, but if an individual wanted to purchase the book, via internet, what is your Cash App link or your Zelle information?
My telephone number is 305-343-9403. That telephone number will get you through the Cash App and to Zelle.
Okay.
But it's the Bowles, it's a long name, Bowles Strawn House. I do have a website. It's Bowles, BOWLES.
BOWLES.
Dash Strawn, STRACHAN.
Okay.
And this house was designated as a historical landmark in 2012 through Broward County Historical Commission.
Yes. And if you were to come down 19th Street, you'll see up front, she has a banner displaying
19th Street, 4651.
And again, make sure you give her a call. Don't just be pulling up now on my neighbor.
And don't forget that Corona is still out there too. So we're not doing any big tours, but if you one person, maybe 2 at the most, come with a mask and all that. Don't worry. I got my
need to enter the home.
Okay.
You got to get the temperature.
I spray you from head to toe.
Right.
But listen, I want to thank both of you, Angine and Nika. Thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time. It's always
thank you so much for having us. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, Miss Angine did put in the chat. If you want to go on, if you missed any of this stuff, you can always go back to Hosanna for Youth. I shared it on my page, and she's going to put the phone number. So like I said, don't just pull up. And if you want to purchase a book, Secrets of the Palmetto Bush, what's the name of it?
Promises from the Palmetto Bush. If you Google Bowles Strawn Historical House, the website will come up, and it gives you a little bit more different information, like photos, things about the book.
And are you taking bookings for singing, any of those type of engagements?
Well, not right now. I'm over 65, so I'm still going by the guidelines. I'm not trying to get in any gatherings right now because I have, my uncle and aunt who's elderly that I help out, and I have to stay clean and clear so that I can continue to help them. So
yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Right now, I'm not doing any gathering.
Not doing any tours, y'all. So we'll just we'll figure out how we can get this book to you. Spell it again. You spell Bowles Stratton again. Bowles Strawn.
BOWLES.
BOWLES.
Hyphen.
W. That's what I'm trying. Yes. Okay.
STRACHAN.
Awesome.
House. And that's as I said, if you Google it, it's .weebly.com. BowlesStrawnHouse.weebly.com.
Well, we're not going to hold you any longer, Miss Cynthia. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence and sharing with us on Hosanna.
And
not here, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies. And when I got a tentative gig in June up in Fort Lauderdale at a bookstore, but if it's clear by then, I'll let you know about it. And you
will do.
Come be my guest.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you so much, guys.
God bless and
thank
be
you
safe.
for joining
Love you
us.
both. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day.